What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Pop Culture Gamers podcast. This is a bit more of an unusual one because today what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some Honeywell PTM7950 paste, which comes in these strips rather than in a tube, onto my motherboard, onto my cooler for my GPU in the Steam Deck, because I've seen online that evidently it does a great job at keeping the Steam Deck a little bit cooler with the fan running a little bit quieter. Not that I've really got excessive problems with fan speed or anything like that. My deck's normally quite okay, but I just thought I would give it a try. It just seemed to be a bit intriguing, so here we are. So some things that we're going to need. First off, we're going to need our prizing tool. We're going to need some scissors. We're going to need a screwdriver. We're going to need a couple of tweezers, a measuring tape, and also the Honeywell stuff itself. So a couple of things just to get ready beforehand. I will just take that out. So first off, let's have a look at some of the thermals before. Okay, so now that we're back, first things to do is a couple of things just to make sure that we're going to be nice and safe in running on this. We're going to hold down the power button and the plus key till we hear the beep, and then that should boot into our BIOS, and then we need to go into our setup utility and then go to power and battery storage mode. And then what this will do is the system will power down. If you select this, press yes. Do you want to proceed? So what basically, in order to restart the machine, I'm going to have to plug this into its charger. So I'm going to say yes. Fan's gone off, as you might be able to hear, and there we have it. So I'm just going to organize my desk, get these things out of the way, because I am going to want to take the back off first off, but before I do that I will need to undo the screws, and in order to do that I'm going to need something for this to rest on, so I am going to use the case, and I will simply turn it upside down like so, because this is designed and molded to fit, and there are 8 screws that we need to consider. So one of the things that I have to keep my screws under control and together is this tray. It's magnetic, so it will stick on just about anything that's metal. And then the 8 screws that we need to remove is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The outer ones and the inner ones are different lengths. You will need a Phillips head screwdriver, so as I said, the screws are different sizes, and as you can see there, those are the inner ones and these are the outer ones. Important to remember about that. Another thing that's important to remember, very important to remember, is if you have your SD card in here, it is the time to take it out now. Otherwise this will break in half, and you don't want that. Okay, so now what we need to do is, working from one corner, is to start to release this. And then just gently pop everything. I've already taken this off previously when I did the installation of the hard drive in here, or the SSD I should say, so that's why that came out so easily. I am planning on doing another installation guide as well in the near future, which is about using these hallmark sticks so that it removes stick drift, so that one will be coming as well. The bit that we need to do is, first off, we need to peel back this, and this will reveal a screw, which is the first screw that we need to take out. There are a total of 3. There's one I believe up here and one down here, so we'll take this one out. I seem to have lost some of the magnetism. The one that is up here, and then finally the one that is down here. Now, just very carefully, we take this bit off. Can be a little bit tricky to remove, but just take your time, and there we go, we've got that off. So the bit that we're going to do is actually under here, but there's something I want to do first, and that is to make sure that this is going to be safe and nothing's going to get damaged. So I am just going to remove the battery, which is a little bit easier said than done. But as you can see, this is a battery here. Just take your time, and when you're done, it will come away. Okay, just take your time with that. All right, so the next thing to do is we need to peel off this sticker. I'm just going to peel it back like so. And then there are only 2 more screws that we need to remove. Those being this one here, and then finally this one here. That one will not actually remove itself from your motherboard, but then we just lift out this assembly, and there we have that there. So as you can see, there is the die. So now what we need to do is we need some of this isopropyl alcohol. I'm just going to put a little bit into here, put that well out of the way, and then I'm going to just clean off the die, and I'm going to clean off the piping as well. So just dab it in there and start cleaning it off, and basically you want to remove it all. So this is just one of those jobs where you just take your time. So maybe a bit more cleaning on that die. Okay, so that looks quite clean. Next, what we need to do is cut this to size. Now, the die is, I believe, about 1.3 or 1.28 centimeters. So we need to cut this by that amount. By the way, one of the things you should do as well is, if you would decide to do this, obviously you do it at your own risk, but buy this so that it's Honeywell, because this is the branded make for it. It's really expensive. This small sheet was £13, but as you can see, it can more than do my Steam Deck. So I'm just going to really sort of eyeball this. It is non-conductive, so you should be okay. So we're wanting around about to here. It looks about right. It should be just enough to cover the Steam Deck die. So we need to make sure we take off one side. And this is really fiddly. And for this, I'm just going to move my magnifying glass in so that I can actually see what I'm doing here. Then when we have it, all that we need to do is just position that on top of, the die. And just press down on that just to get it to adhere, to stick on. And then try to take this off just very, very gently. And hope it doesn't tear. And there, we've applied that. So that is now in place. We look at it from there. Looking good so far. Now we do everything backwards. So we get this in here. Put this screw back in. Then this screw. Get our metal plate. Oh, first off, best put the battery back in. Put the plate on. The screw in down here. The next screw up here. And then the last screw on here. Put that back. Make sure this is stuck down again. And then pop the back on. Remember to go all the way around, snapping it into place. Just be careful while you're doing it. we go, and everything should be back to the way it was. So in order to switch this on now, I need to plug it in, and just to save wear and tear on the USB-C port, because it's often getting charged, I use one of these adapters, which is very much jerry rigged through. I'll go through this in another video about what my setup is here for this, but I plug that in and I can turn it back on. There we go. So the key question about this whole process has been, has it been successful? Has it reduced the temperature of the CPU and GPU down in any way? This should also result in a fall in fan speed as well. While it's not possible for the game to run exactly the same each time, what I have tried to do is make the conditions of the test as close as possible to having minimal change, that being NPCs walking in the background and any other random events that the games would actually choose to run at that particular moment in time. After having compared results, they're really disappointing. Here are the results for Hogwarts Legacy following the application of PTM7950. As would be expected, the temperature slowly rises by about 10 degrees over the whole of the session. However, despite this increase of temperature, when we actually look at the PTM7950 results compared to the previous results, we can see that for almost every occasion, the temperatures using PTM7950 are actually higher than they are for the normal stock thermal paste supplied on the Steam Deck. In terms of Spider-Man, when we compare the results of the stock versus the PTM7950, we can actually see there is again no real discernible difference. The only issue is, by the end of the 10-minute test, the CPU was slightly colder on Spider-Man by 1 degree. I would say that that drop in temperature is more representative of just the random processes that are going on in the background on the game, and actually that 1 degree drop in temperature at the very end is just more linked to the background processes that are going on. What's not shown in this chart, which I have actually recorded, is the fan temperatures, with the exception of a couple of readings that were taken at 30-second intervals across the entire 10 minutes. The fan speed following the application of PTM7950 was actually higher by at least 30 to up to 300 or 400 RPM. So therefore the fan is working harder, which is pulling more juice off your battery, etc, etc. So again, this might be just because of the standard variation from playing the game in different sessions. However, in terms of Hogwarts Legacy, the findings in terms of CPU and GPU, as has already been seen, were pretty similar. However, when we compare the fan speeds for both of those as well, the fan speed was within 7% at the very maximum on Hogwarts Legacy, whereas in Spider-Man, the fan speed could be up to 9% faster. Looking at the results and allowing a small margin for error for variations in each individual game following testing, I'm pretty confident in saying that the difference for the application of PTM7950 has actually made no difference at all, and could even be argued that it has actually decreased the performance of my Steam Deck. However, it has remained still thermally quite efficient. If you look at my other review, which is already up, in terms of the JSOX turbine, which clips onto your Steam Deck in order to extract air out of the system, this has for me had a much greater impact and has meant that some games have actually ran up to 15 degrees cooler using that system, and you don't even need the fan on at the full speed in order to be able to get to some of those results. However, other people's testing has again found something very different to the findings that I have. For PTM7950, I would proceed with this with caution. If you're considering upgrading to PTM7950, first off, make sure that you get the official stuff. Secondly, don't go for unbranded versions of PTM7950 or equivalents, because you can't guarantee that they are going to be as good as the Honeywell version. You also need to consider, do you have the technical ability to be able to actually apply this? It is very easy. I would say on a scale of 1 to 5, this change would be at the most probably a 2. It's a very, very easy thing to do. You also need to factor in things like if you haven't got isopropyl alcohol for removing previous thermal paste, etc., and any potential damage that you might do, because if you do this, you do it at your own risk. But you might not actually gain any performance, and it might even make it slightly worse. What is interesting about PTM7950 is that some larger tests that have been done after over 1,000 hours of use of PTM7950, it becomes a lot more thermally efficient and will actually result in improved performance over time, whereas normal thermal paste will dry out. The other thing that you should consider doing is, before you actually start on this process, put your PTM7950 in the freezer for at least half an hour to get this more solid and cool, and then that will very quickly warm up. What I was expecting was for the temperatures at the beginning to actually be a lot higher than the stock paste, because PTM7950 needs time to react and only reacts after certain temperatures. However, what I found was there was no real difference at all. So if you do want to see a gadget which might actually make your Steam Deck cooler, then check out my links down in the comments. Otherwise, if you do decide to do this, proceed at your own risk. This really is a buyer beware sort of thing. As long as you do the change correctly, it shouldn't damage anything that's in your system. However, depending upon how thermally responsive your system is, this may or may not work. And if you do decide to do that, good luck, and why not let us know in the comments what you thought about that. Did it work for you? Did you see better results? Is this something that only became better over time? Let us know. Okay, so that's it for the time being. Hope you've really enjoyed this video. This one has been a long time coming, but as you can see, it has taken quite a bit of time to pull all of this data together. So hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, why not give us a like? It's free and it will really help out us as a channel to become more noticed and raise the awareness of us even more. Also, don't forget to subscribe. We produce regular videos. We've also got the podcast, and this is a great way to get access to our content, because you'll be notified when it's available. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.